And that housing crisis is forcing people to get creative. Some are going as far as to ditch the expensive house or apartment to live in an RV or camper.
Picture this: entire neighborhoods filled with for sale signs, streets lined with moving trucks, families walking away from the homes they once thought would secure their future. What looks like a scene from a disaster movie is actually happening across America right now. Housing prices are soaring far beyond reach, mortgages are crushing families, and basic home maintenance has become almost impossible to afford. Experts promised stability, but instead, what we see are cracks forming in the very foundation of the housing market. States that once looked unstoppable are now showing the early signs of collapse, with desperate sellers cutting prices, buyers walking away, and whole communities on the edge of financial ruin. This is not just about real estate, this is about survival. And the most shocking part is that the countdown has already begun, with certain states about to face the hardest crashes America has ever seen. Stay with me till the end, and if you don't want to miss updates on how this crisis unfolds, make sure to hit the subscribe button right now. The American housing market is entering one of its most dangerous moments in modern history. For decades, people were told that owning a home was the safest path to stability. But that promise is now breaking apart. The national median home price has climbed to nearly $430,000, a number so high that most families cannot even dream of affording it. At the same time, incomes have failed to keep pace, creating an affordability gap that locks millions of households out of the market. Families who believed that owning a home would secure their future are now facing crushing financial pressure. Mortgage rates, which once hovered at affordable levels, now sit between 6% and 7%, making monthly payments far higher than before. On top of this, the cost of simply maintaining a home has jumped by 18% in just 1 year, adding nearly $1,800 a month beyond the mortgage. For ordinary families, this isn't just expensive, it's impossible. Many have resorted to cash-out refinancing, pulling money from their home equity to pay for daily expenses. It is not a strategy to grow wealth, it is a desperate move to survive. The pressure is not evenly spread. Certain states are beginning to show severe cracks. Nevada, with its economy tied to tourism and gambling, is already seeing a flood of unsold homes. Prices jumped earlier this year, but inventory has exploded by more than 22%, leaving over 14,000 homes sitting on the market. Sellers are slashing prices, buyers are disappearing, and properties now remain unsold for more than 2 months. When a recession hits, Nevada's economy, built on fragile industries, could collapse completely, leaving behind empty houses and broken families. Arizona, once marketed as an affordable paradise, is becoming an expensive nightmare. Extreme heat waves are making parts of the state almost unlivable, while utility bills are soaring beyond what retirees and families on fixed incomes can handle. Water shortages and insurance companies pulling out of the state have made home ownership riskier than ever. Many who fled California for Arizona's lower costs are now realizing that the supposed dream is slipping away. Montana, a state that became a magnet for remote workers during the pandemic, is facing its own crisis. Local teachers, firefighters, and health workers are being pushed out of the communities their families built for generations, priced out by wealthy outsiders. But with the remote work trend reversing, and tech companies forcing employees back into offices, Montana is at risk of a population exodus that will leave entire markets frozen, with homes nobody can afford to buy or sell. Utah is another state where explosive, tech-driven growth sent home prices skyrocketing, but the slowdown has begun. The so-called Silicon Slopes, once celebrated for innovation and high-paying jobs, are now facing layoffs, relocations, and falling demand. The infrastructure can no longer keep up. Water shortages are worsening, and people are leaving as quickly as they once arrived. The boom that lifted Utah may now become the cause of its collapse. Idaho tells a similar story. It became ground zero for people fleeing California, but the rapid rise in prices has pushed affordability out of reach. Homes sit unsold for months, price cuts are rising, and the very people who moved there for a better life are now leaving again, creating a second wave of instability. Colorado, too, is heading toward disaster. With median prices in Denver nearing $600,000 and resort towns catering only to millionaires, the state's reliance on tourism and luxury housing is making it incredibly vulnerable. As climate change shortens ski seasons and water shortages worsen, entire communities built around wealth and vacation homes could turn into ghost towns. Texas, a state that has long been seen as an economic powerhouse, is already experiencing massive losses in home values. Property taxes and insurance costs are spiraling out of control, while extreme heat makes basic living unbearable. Cities like Austin and Dallas, which saw some of the fastest growth in the country, are now facing flooded markets with too much inventory and not enough buyers. When Texas's oil and energy-based economy falters, the housing crash will spread across the state at a scale larger than almost anywhere else. California, the giant of the housing market, is collapsing under its own weight. Home values have already dropped by over $100 billion in 1 year. A combination of homelessness, water shortages, wildfires, high taxes, and businesses fleeing the state has created a downward spiral that seems unstoppable. Once the center of wealth and innovation, California is now showing how quickly confidence in a market can vanish, leaving behind unsold homes, falling prices, and families with nowhere to go. Florida, often seen as a retirement paradise, is also in danger. Insurance companies are abandoning the state due to hurricanes, flooding, and extreme heat, leaving homeowners stranded. Entire counties are now listed among the most dangerous markets in America. Families who dreamed of retiring by the beach are watching their home values drop, their costs rise, and their futures collapse. At the very top of the risk list is Hawaii, with median home prices above $850,000 and average incomes around $88,000. The price-to-income ratio is beyond repair. Local workers like teachers and healthcare employees cannot afford to live where they work. Climate risks and dependence on tourism make the economy fragile, and the very people who built the islands are being forced to leave their ancestral homes. What was once seen as a paradise is quickly becoming a financial prison. Across all these states, the same warning signs are flashing. Home sales are dropping to levels not seen since the Great Recession of 2009. Tens of thousands of sales are being canceled every month. Nearly 1 in 5 listings is cutting prices, and maintenance costs are strangling families. The crash is not happening overnight, but like a slow-moving storm, it is building force. When the final trigger comes, whether from inflation, tariffs, recession, or climate disaster, the damage will hit quickly and brutally. It feels like the American housing market is standing on the edge of a cliff, and no one knows exactly when it will collapse. But all the warning signs are right in front of us. Families are already struggling with impossible prices, mortgage rates that keep climbing, and basic maintenance costs that eat up nearly half of their income. States like Nevada, Arizona, and Montana show us the cracks more clearly than anywhere else. Entire markets filling up with unsold homes, people leaving the communities they once loved, and local economies unable to survive the pressure. When you look at Texas, California, and Florida, the story gets even darker. These aren't just small states on the edge. These are massive markets, and if they fall, the whole country shakes with them. What makes this so frightening is that it's not a single problem. It's a storm of high costs, climate disasters, insurance withdrawals, and economic slowdown all hitting at once. And the truth is, most families have no safety net left. If this collapse comes, it will take their homes, their savings, and their futures. That's why this story matters so much. And that's why we need to keep asking, is this the start of another Great Recession? Or something even worse? If you want to stay ahead of what's really happening and never miss these deep breakdowns, make sure you hit subscribe right now, because the next chapter in this housing crisis could arrive sooner than anyone expects.